Hello one, hello all, it's still list week. We got done the EPs, my favorite EPs of this year. We got done with the horrible songs of this year, and now we're going on to the horrible albums of this year. And then we're gonna go on to best tracks, best albums. We're taking out the trash and bringing in the treasure. But it's Thursday. Yeah, I don't mean that type of trash. I mean like trash as in album trash. Terrible albums. Never mind. Alright, so let's get into this. There were a bunch of terrible albums this year, sure, but I went for the bottom of the barrel this time. Absolute worst. Let's get into it. At number 10, we have Macklemore with Ben. And we've been talking a lot about white rappers lately, and Macklemore seems to be the one who has been getting progressively worse. This time around in the aspect of lacking originality, whether he's biting Future Islands or biting Post Malone, or just coming up with these basic, hollow concepts that he beats us over the head with throughout this album, and absolutely tone-deaf concepts. Like on the track Hip Hop Made Me Do It, where he feeds into these old-time talking points of doing a hip-hop song with the anti-hip-hop tropes that is just so disgusting, so dumb, and feeds into the talking points that's weaponized against the culture that he is a guest in and that he is capitalizing off of. Trash. Horrible. Awful. And speaking of trash, disappointing, and awful, at number 9, it's Måneskin with Rush. And man, I was really harsh on this album. I was, but the fans were very good sports about it, actually. Like, if you go into the comments section, they were actually open to my criticisms, which is a good thing. But what is not a good thing, for me, is listening to this album again and again and again, where I found the lyrics to be immensely cringe. The instrumentation sounds so recycled and cheap and flavorless. It sounds like what you would get if someone recorded karaoke of the White Stripes and a bunch of great 2000s era indie rock and then put it over a loudspeaker at a baseball stadium. And there's nothing wrong with having influences, but when it sounds so watered down and you could tell they're pulling from that and not adding anything else, it just doesn't do it for me. This album doesn't do it for me. But if you're loving this, that's fantastic. I just can't get into it. Following that, we have the new NF album with Hope. And I hope we get a better album next time around, because this was garbage. There are some moments on here where he's not on his high horse, sure, like the tribute to his late mother, the tribute to the mother of his child, which was great, which was touching, but overall, this is super corny. This is faux cinematic at points where he's pretending to be this anomaly above the fray artist, like he's making this music that no one else is making and it's so special, when in actuality it's just bland pop rap. You're just creating 21 Pilots. You're just creating Imagine Dragons music and setting it to rap, which is so corny. Like, that is not special at all. But he's parading around like he's making a stand, like he's doing this revolutionary rap music. But it's not an obscure art piece. It's just a piece of plain Christian pop rap. That's all it is. Following that at number 7, we have Gunna with A Gift and a Curse, where Gunna can't stop harping off the fact that he's free from these RICO charges and YSL isn't. And after taking the time to understand and know that, yeah, in that situation, he basically did what anyone would have, and that's fine, do what you have to do, but he's trying to capitalize off the thing, and he just can't shut up about it. He makes an entire album about it, knowing it's gonna create buzz, knowing it's gonna get him numbers, and it's kind of gross, it's exploitive, and I wish he didn't do it. And also creating a giant target on his back. Why? And the production sounds really cheap. The mixing sounds awful. There's even a point where it sounds like there's a smoke detector going off. And I thought it was someone's shoe squeaking as they walked through like the hallway or something. But no, come to find out, that's a smoke detector. I don't know. And the bars are terrible, as always. Gunna's not making any artistic improvements on here at all. Trash, awful, yeah. But not as much as our friend here, Destroy Lonely, with If Looks Could Kill. And man, so many fans dig him. He is like a god to the underground when it comes to Playboi Carti's Opium label, and I don't know why. Every time I listen to him, I feel like I'm losing years of my life as I'm listening to this. It's just so slow. It's so boring. He brings nothing to the mic, no personality. And don't get me wrong, the concept of having these rock samples that are dark and gloomy is cool, but they sound so cheap and they sound just so lifeless and stiff and nothing to them whatsoever. There's no concept, there's no passion, there's no direction. Lyrically, it's void. Production-wise, void. Vocally, void. This is like if Opium came out with a bag of chips and you're like, oh boy, Destroy Lonely flavor. And you eat that chip and you taste nothing. There was nothing there. And that is Destroy Lonely as a nutshell. Soulless, pointless, and at times very annoying. And speaking of annoying, we have AJR with The Maybe Man. And to AJR's credit, they are a popular band. I believe they do numbers, sure, which I think is great. You should be getting praise for your art. You should be getting love for your art. But I've tried. And I've tried again and again, but I cannot get on board with this. And I'm not using that term of phrase because they're on a boat on the cover. But this is what you would get if you got a rated R Pixar movie without the jokes. And believe me, they try their hand at jokes and humor and it just falls so flat. And it could be interesting if they had direction, if maybe the production had like a little more risk to it, if what they were saying was actually humorous. And the vocals are so man-boyish and gross, and it's overproduced, and it's just not good. Well, at least it doesn't sound like there's fried shrimp flying across the screen on this one. This one just sounds like the Pixar movie I would never attend to. And it just sounds so sanitary. It just sounds like a hug, like a giant hug trying to welcome me, and I do not want that hug, and I have to respectably turn it away. Next is an album that does not offer any hugs. Matter of fact, it offers Alienation of the first Lil Pump mixtape, Cat's Out of the Bag, Lil Pump 2. Which is a sequel to the first mixtape, which in context is mindless, dumb, fun music, which is why it was so great, because I was able to contextualize it as that. It knows that it's dumb, it knows that it's stupid, and it was really good at that with fun, catchy songs. But through time, he forgot what made the music good. He forgot what made the process work. The organic way of just throwing out these dumb, mindless bars and fun production. But on here, we don't get any of that. Those enjoyable qualities are stripped away and replaced with really corny, bad bars as Lil Pump makes his attempt at comedy, and they do not land well whatsoever. They just fall flat on their face. And also makes an attempt to branch out and do a metal song, which is just trash, which is just awful. The lyrics are nonsensical, and not in a meant to be nonsensical way, where he was trying to make a joke and failed miserably at making the joke. And the guitars and drums sound so haphazardly put together. Yeah, not a fun time. Not a fun time in my life. And speaking of life, this next album at number 3 has none of that whatsoever. I'm talking about Sleep Token. Take Me Back to Eden. And I don't know why so many people are like, this is my favorite band. This band is awesome. This band is amazing. When in fact, I think this is probably one of the worst bands I've ever heard in my life. And with all this awful AI music going on, this sounds like it's trying to be AI music. I feel like this is the unfortunate prediction of what it will be like if we let AI continue. And trust me, this is not the future we want. But yeah, this is just bland, run-of-the-mill. I don't even know if I could call it metal, because there are songs on here that aren't even metal songs. It's just a bunch of processed R&B, pop, and rock songs with a little bit of metal thrown in there. And they're not even pulling from any place interesting. They're basically pulling from what's ever trending on the charts and what's ever doing well on the charts, and saying like, oh yeah, we're diverse, we're obscure, when you got songs on here that sound like a Macklemore song, a Justin Bieber song, or Imagine Dragons song, or there's even a song that sounds kind of like a bad K-pop song that sound like a Justin Bieber song with processed Scott Stapp vocals. Like, it's like post-grunge meets what's ever trending on the charts, choosing the blandest choices, and bam, you got Sleep Token. And I know people love them, but I feel nothing powerful. I feel nothing creative. I feel nothing innovative here. I feel nothing raw here. I feel nothing, because this album sounds like nothing. It sounds like plastic posing as metal. This thing it's soulless, it's tasteless, and I hope to never return to it again. And speaking of returns, we have the return of Tom MacDonald and Adam Calhoun with The Brave 2. Yep, Canadian rap grifter Tom MacDonald and Adam Calhoun are back, and they brought a few friends along the way that you may know. Dax, you know about Dax. Again, with double the conservative talking points. More transphobia, more racism, more fear-mongering, and more music that your racist, bigoted coworker or family member can enjoy. And also, don't be fooled by their praises of Jay-Z or Lil Wayne. They do not care about people of color. They don't even care about the art. They just care about the money they could gain from the bigotry that they cast to you unapologetically. And it's just disgusting. It's just awful. And I know I say this a lot, but a lot of these albums are awful. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on the list. So they're not cool, they're not great, and don't let them dupe you by gaslighting you into their conservative ideology. And at number 1, the worst album of the year, I'm sure you saw this coming. Avenged Sevenfold, Life is But a Dream. Man, I honestly felt like I was in a dream. Matter of fact, a nightmare when I heard this album. And to their credit, they did try to go experimental, but this sounds like they're trying to make a Mr. Bungle parody, but without the jokes. But in fact, the jokes are the vocals and the lyrics, but they don't know they're a joke. It's just... Oh, I don't know what happened here, because here's the thing. Avenged Sevenfold, I don't think has ever been a terrible band. I did love them when I was first introduced to metal, and my taste got more and more creative, more experimental, not to sound pretentious, but more heavy, more raw, and understanding like where they were pulling from, but I digress. But on here, they took the experimental route, and it went disastrously bad. And the vocals and the refrains are so corny on here. More power, more money. Burn on the shadows, let it be, don't let it be. And also they try to make an attempt at a Daft Punk song twice. It doesn't go well. It doesn't go well. And yeah, it's just so bad, so laughably terrible. It sounds like this was a plan. It sounds like they intentionally made this. And that's why they dropped, so I could put them up top at number 1 of my worst album of the year. Whew. So yeah, that's my worst album of the year list. What are yours? Let me know. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, worst albums, 2023. Till we meet again.